So our next speaker, you have your program that you can read about her, but I just want to introduce her on a personal note because when we were talking about the idea of customer service, I said, you know, I was at a national conference, I don't know, it was several years ago, the Society of American Florists convention, and they always bring in amazing speakers, and Petra Marquart was one of the first programs in the morning, and she just energized the entire room, and it was all about customer service. And I was so impressed with her that her name, it never left my mind. And years later, when we're talking about doing a segment on customer service, I dug out my old thing from this convention I went to, and I said, I found this, I listened to this amazing lady, and I had actually been so impressed with her, I actually bought the videotape that was, after the convention was over, they were selling all of them. So I just want to tell you that that's how we got Petra here. And she is a nationally known speaker. And unfortunately, my notes are there, and so I'm going to do this just blindly, Petra. But she has crisscrossed the country doing amazing work with training and customer service all throughout the country. And she's worked for many, many large organizations. I know that one of them, she has written basically the entire employee customer service model for the Mall of America in Minneapolis, and I believe that is where she resides. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Petra Marquart. Thank you.
That was so nice. I appreciate it. No, you did great. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? Well, I want you to know that I bring you greetings from the great state of Minnesota. Do you have any idea how thrilled I am to be here? Do you know? You know, it snowed on Monday. On Monday, it snowed. What month is this? I can't take it. But I have been here a couple days now, and I have been immersed in your aloha. It is absolutely beautiful. I've seen it again and again and again in the shops, in the stores, in the places I've been, and I have been in awe of it. I want you to know there's no aloha, specific aloha, in Minnesota. We have ufta. Does anybody, ufta? Have you heard that, ufta? It's kind of like the Jewish oi, only it's Norwegian ufta, which is ufta, my cookie fell on the floor. And you would say, it's fine, eat it anyway. That's aloha. No, I have to be honest. And thank you so much, Tina, wherever you are. That was a wonderful introduction. There you go. I couldn't have done better myself. Very good. I have indeed been focusing on customer service for the past 26 years. And I want you to know that I've traveled the globe and been honored to speak at a lot of organizations and conferences and meetings. I did indeed write the service program for the Mall of America, US Bank, the Target Center Arena. I've done a lot of work in the medical health care business, which is just a joke. You just need to know it's a joke, because I know no one less medical than I. In fact, the only thing medical about me, and this is absolutely the truth, is that I'm a hypochondriac. Anybody else? Just a little bit of do you know hypochondriacs? You know, they never have a cold. It goes right to black lung. You know what I'm saying? It's an awful experience. I was honored, though, to do that work. I also wrote a service program for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do we have any veterans in the room today? Let me see. Can you raise your hand? Any veterans in the room today? I want you to know, thank you over here, thank you. You know, I thought I knew what service was until I went down to Des Moines, Iowa, and there's a medical center there for the VA, and I remember when I went through the door, the archway of the hospital, the words, "The cost of freedom can be seen here." And I got it. I never try to miss an opportunity to thank a veteran. We're free because of them. Now, I want you to know I also had the opportunity to write a service program for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Border Patrol. Do you really think this is an organization that wants their customers coming back again and again? What? But you know, the check didn't bounce, so do I care. I want you to know I bought this jacket in Minnesota. Huh? Doesn't that look Hawaiian to y'all? Isn't that nice? My feet were bloody from shopping. It took such a long time, but I want you to know I was very delighted to get it. I feel very part of the islands today. I also want you to know that when I was talking to Tina and Frank, we were having a conversation about what's going on in the small business community here today and in this time. And they told me that there's sort of good news, bad news. Good news, there's very, very little unemployment. Bad news is there's very little unemployment. And as they were speaking, I could feel my blood pressure going up. I was getting anxiety. And I was thinking, what is this about? I mean, they were so nice on the phone. What is it? And you know what I realized? Many years ago, 20 years ago, about 4 or 5 of my really smart friends and I started our own small business. And my system wasn't forgetting what that time was like. I want you to know that we thought we are so smart and we've got so many good ideas, we're going to be another Walmart. Yes, it's going to be us, a Walmart. We opened a cleaning service for the cleaning of homes and businesses. We had team cleaning go out and do this. Everything worked fine until somebody called in sick. And then a couple of people quit. Has that ever happened? Does that ever happen to you? You know, we started with this passion to provide a service for people, and after 5 years, we ended up disappointed beyond belief. It was so hard. The one thing you owners in the room, small business owners, know, you can never take a vacation. It's always there, sucking your life savings. Dollar by dollar as you try to have fun. You think, I can't buy dinner tonight. I've got to pay for the loss of income. Well, I want you to know I have no answers for you on how we can make all of that go away. But I'm hoping that we can talk for the next couple of hours about ideas. And we can talk about the successes of 3 business partners that we're going to have on a panel here. I'm so anxious for you to hear about them. They are unbelievable in their longevity. You know, I work with businesses on occasion that have been around and done well. We're talking generations. We're not talking businesses, we're talking legacies. And these are people you want to hear the stories from because they've been there a long time. So let's talk about what service is. I want you to know that the Aloha State needs to take service more seriously than a lot of other states because people come here expecting something different. You all know that, don't you? Every book you read on Hawaii, everything you see this spirit, this sense of connectedness and kindness and goodness that is called aloha. And I want you to know aloha is part of service, and service is a part of aloha. But today we're going to talk about where they come together. So I believe you have a handout. Would that be true, or am I just sort of making that up? Okay. You can follow along, take notes, do whatever you like to do, and let's just get started. There you go. How many of you have been around a 5-year-old recently? Have you been around a little 5-year-old? This is the grandson of my best friend. She has been my best friend for 62 years. I have no idea what brought us together or keeps us together. She's tall. I'm not. She's a writer. I'm not. She's a speaker. I'm a speaker. She has terrible taste in music. I know all these things about her. And that's her grandson. His name's Vin. Vin was 5 years old, and he came down one morning to the kitchen in their home in Florida. And he sat at the table, and if you've been around a 5-year-old recently, you know how intense they can be. And he was writing down things, and Mother came up and said, "What are you doing, Vin?" And he said, "Just making some notes to myself, Mommy." And of course, when he left the room, Mommy had to go over and take a look. And this is what Vin wrote. "Say thank you, say please, have good manners, no hurting people, treat people how you want to be treated, be polite, and do not ignore people." We can go home now. 5 years old. There is a sense of goodness of how we should be, and after enough years trying to fight the battles in life, we sort of lose sight of that. So we're going to talk about what service is. The definition of service that I'd like to share with you this morning, and I just want you to think about this and think about the aloha spirit. Service is any word, act, or deed. It's any word that comes out of your mouth. It's any tone in your voice. It's any look in your eye. It's any smile on your face. It's any act that you do. It's any deed that you do that makes working with you easy, pleasurable, effective, and efficient. And you cannot sacrifice one of those and still provide great service. So let me share what we're talking about here. Any word, act, or deed that makes working with you, and I'm talking about you, easy. How many of you have ever worked with somebody who's hard to work with? Have you ever worked at, and don't look around the room and point if people are here. We all have. We all have. You know that person that, every time you bring up a new idea, they think it's a dumb idea? Those people that are always too busy to lend a hand, you know those people. How many of you, when you have worked with people, just would hope they wouldn't come to work that day because it'd make it easier? And I want to ask all of you owners and managers of businesses, have you ever made a bad hire? I mean, you interview this one person, and this other person shows up for work. Yeah, there are people hard to work with. In order for you to have service that matters to people who come here, you have to know that working with you has to be the easiest thing they do all day, because when it's not, there's hassle added to their life. And I don't know about you, but when I go out and pay for something, I'd prefer not to have any more hassle. How many of you would want that as well? Service also has to be pleasurable. I'm not asking you to go out and buy a joke book, be a laugh a minute, oh, you're a riot. But I want you to know what I've found true in life. You walk into somebody's presence and there's a light. You know what I'm talking about? A light. And then you walk into another person's presence and there's a darkness. And that darkness seems to have a cloud over it. These are the people, the woe is me's, the woe is me's. My life is so hard. Do you have that? Yeah. You don't understand. I'm really tired. I can't really work hard today, You understand? Any idea that a manager brings is a bad idea? These are the people that literally suck the joy out of everything. They're like Minnesota mosquitoes. They come in and just take the life out of you. In order for service, now I want you to know that a lot of this is about aloha. A lot of this fits aloha. I want you to know it fits aloha. But there's another aspect that service has to have. You need to know what you're talking about. How many of you have ever gone to a restaurant and ordered something, and they bring something just the opposite? I'd like this well done, and it comes, with a little carrot, could be healed. And you say, didn't you know I ordered this well done? And the nicest wait people often, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want you to be sorry. I want you to do it right. Isn't that what we want? I want you to do it right. And finally, I want you to know that makes it a full service experience is it has to be efficient. Do not waste my time. Do not put in things, barriers, and obstacles in my way for your sake. Oh, no, you can't do that. I'm going to have you go over there and stand there for a week and a half, and then someone will give you a copy. Have you ever felt that when you go? You're thinking, who are you serving here? Me or your system? Me or your processes? Because I want you to know that when I'm in a place where I feel that, I don't want to come back. We also know this about service. Great service is an inside-out job. Great service is an inside-out job. In other words, you've heard of the trickle-down theory. You've heard of that, haven't you? In politics, you know, if the rich make a lot more money, that's going to trickle down. You've heard it? I want you to know it works here. How you treat the people in your span of influence often shows up in the face of your customers. We also know that service is important to you here because you ain't got nothing else. Unless you get up in the morning and go someplace and stand at a conveyor belt, a bench, a machine, and at the end of the day you walk out and say, I made this deal here, I made it. Or I made this green part of this deal. You are in the manufacturing industry and your product is tangible. You can touch it, you can taste it, you can kick the tires, you can take it for a ride. Or you get up in the morning and you sell your time, your talent, your knowledge, your experience, your skills. And I want you to know that product is service, and it is intangible, and it cannot be touched, it cannot be held, it can only be experienced. And I ask you, what do your external customers experience from your shop or business? And here's the bigger question. What do your employees experience from you? Are you the example of what you want them to be? We also know service matters to you here today because it will give consistency to your reputation. I mean, everybody can be nice once in a while. I got a feeling that even Charles Manson, have you ever heard of Charles Manson? He's in prison. He's a terrible, terrible person. I'll bet on occasion he's nice. Some guy walks by a cell and goes, yo. I'm talking about every single nanosecond, every time in every day anybody comes in contact with you, you are service at its best. Oh yeah, but that's really hard. Yeah, it is. But I always tell people, they'll say, you know, I don't have time for that. I'll say, you better get up and go around the counter and help me. I don't have time for that. I know how you can have a lot of time. By having no one come through the door. I'm so anxious to talk to our panelists in just a little bit about what it is that they do. I mean, the competition that has come along over the decades that they've been in business should have technically taken them out. But it didn't. It didn't. I'm anxious to hear how that happens. We also know that service matters because it is that thing when you are a manager, when you're a leader, when you are that person, it will restore trust and faith of your employees in you. When a manager is walking aloha, I want you to know that there's not one employee who is ever afraid of telling her or him something. They're not pacing outside the door wondering, oh, I wonder what kind of mood she's in today. They just tell you. And if your employees can't tell you the truth without being afraid, I worry for your future. Because the privates on the front line know the truth. They know what customers look like when you ask them for this particular piece of information. And they're going to tell you, not to tick you off, but to give you information to save your business. We also know that service matters because Leaders are judged by these things by their staff. I want you to think about yourself now when you read this. I want you to think about yourself. What do you do, and are any of these three there? Number one, inspirational leaders, ones that move people to perform at their best, know the skills and gifts of the people who work with them and for them, and utilize them. You know, when I ask managers and business owners around the country, what do you think the most important thing is to your employees? What's their most important thing? Guess what most answer? Show me the money, baby. Show me the money. You know where money lies in that satisfaction list? It's number 5. Number 1, this is what it moves an employees to be at their best is this. You know me. You know what I've done, you know who I am, and you use those skills and gifts I bring. And value them. We also know that they have a good relationship with you. Mutual. Mutual. I respect you, and you respect me. And finally, leaders that move people to perform fairly reward people, and I'm thinking perhaps your mind is going to money again. Oh, but reward is so much more. There is a reward in somebody saying, I cannot value all the things you do more. I want you to know you bring a spirit to this shop or to this business, and you bring ideas, and you bring skill, and you bring things here that I can only tell you I learned from. You, employee, are my inspiration. You know what kind of reward that is? You don't have enough money in your bucket to reward somebody to that degree. We also know that service matters because it creates intimacy. Now, don't get all excited or anything here. I want you to know what intimacy means. The actual definition is disclosure. Intimacy means that I kind of unzip my spirit and you know me. And I want you to know the competitive edge that your businesses have over every large organization is that when a customer comes through the door, you can say, I know you. The visitors that come here, obviously, have never seen them before, and those people can hear from you, I want to know you. I have been in a lot of shops here since I've been here, and I want you to know there's been some fabulous, I'd say about 90% have been fabulous. But there's always a couple. Somebody who's not in the mood, you know, not in the mood. Have you ever not been in the mood to really take care of a customer? You're just not in the mood. And plus, they're kind of owly and crabby. They got an edge. Why should I be nice to them? Because great service isn't about the customer, it's about you. Mother Teresa was one of the greatest examples. Her customers would often crawl up to her on the streets of Calcutta with maggots in their wounds. And she treated them with kindness and decency and goodness and respect, not because of who they were, but because of who she was. And when you provide that service to people who come into your business or shop or a store, it isn't about them. It's always about you. We also know that service matters because people expect it. They expect it. They don't know they expect it, but they expect it. I want to tell you a little bit about what this means. How many of you are in or have been in a primary significant relationship with somebody? I didn't say good. Are you just in them? Does that help a little bit? I worry when people raise their hands like this. What is that saying about your relationship? It's not good. Well, for those of you who either are in or have been in a primary significant relationship, have you ever had conflict in that relationship because of something we know as missed expectations? Have you had that? Did you notice it's 7 o'clock? I expected you home at 6. Have you had that? And then that one kind of moseys on to, if you were going to be late, I sort of expected you to call. These are breakdowns in expectations you're having with people you've known for what? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years? You're still looking at each other going, what? Now, if you're having breakdowns with people you've known for that long, I want to ask you, how many times a day do you think it's possible that a customer comes through the door or an employee comes up to you expecting something and they're let down? And you know what's really scary about this? You don't even know the letdown took place. You don't even know. The person leaves your business or shop, or your employee goes home and says, oh, I just had a terrible day today, it's terrible. And you go home, how's your day, dear? Fine. See, you didn't sense when that employee came and asked you something that you had a tone. You didn't sense that, but you did. You didn't sense it that when that new customer came through the door, they had just had bad news back home, and they were crabby. Okay, they were. But why were you? We expect to be treated well, and I want to talk about these expectations. All right, these are the 4, and I'm going to go through these quickly. Let's go right to the next slide. Let's start with this one. I defined service for you a little bit earlier, didn't I? Service is any word, act, or deed that makes working with you easy, pleasurable, so and so and so on. But I want you to know, I got to dig deeper. We have to dig deeper. This is the aloha. Service at its deepest is how you treat people. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how good your food is. I do not care about the wonderful products you have. Nothing matters to me until we'll deal with me first. How do you treat me? You know, you've probably gone out to restaurants from time to time, and some of the big chains, they have massive training programs. We know that, the big places. I don't know about you out here in the islands, but I'll tell you back in the continental U.S., when you go out to eat in Minnesota, we go to chain restaurants, and I'll tell you what, they're all perky. They got balloons, and they've got hats, and they come out, woo, you know. I can't take perky when I'm hungry. I mean, I just can't take it. I want to say, settle down. You know what? We have even had people wait people come out and sit at our table with us. They've sat down at the table. And I'm thinking, I don't want to eat with you. I barely want to eat with him. But I want you to know they've been trained. Oh, yes, they've been trained. They've been trained in customer service. Make the customer like you. Be perky. Woo! Woo! That's not service, my friends. That's just irritating. I want you to know at the core of everything I talk about, the whole thesis of what I do, is to know that service is not how customers feel about you, it's how they feel about themselves in your presence. Do I feel valued? Do I feel welcomed? Do I feel important? Do I feel smart? Do I feel like an interruption? Do I feel like I don't have a clue what you're talking about? How do I feel about me when I'm with you? Now, that takes care of our aloha. As I said earlier, aloha and service are together because there are other aspects you can't be aloha-ing. I'm sure that's not a word. Your service alone, because service is dependent on this as well. In addition to how you treat people, it is dependent on the process people have to go through to receive your service. This is hassle factor. What is the hassle factor I have to take on to get your service or product? There's another aspect about that, though, and that is quality also includes outcomes. I mean, I think you're going to judge the quality of your medical care as poor, aren't you, if you're always sick? Don't you think one day you're going to get a second opinion? Don't you think so? You know, I've had this bad leg for 47 years. Aren't you going to say maybe one day you should see another doctor? You better go. The outcome. You didn't do what you said you would do. You didn't do what I needed. I'm going to judge you by that. I'm also going to judge you by the next one, which is price. Here's what you need to know about price. For those of you in here who set prices. Price is judged and set by the owner, manager, whoever it is. But value is decided by the customer. You can put $100 on that thing until you turn blue. And until I think it's worth $100, it ain't. I will tell you the value, no matter how much you need $100 in order to pay the invoice yourself. And if you got a whole batch of red shoes and nobody wants red shoes, when somebody comes in wanting blue shoes, don't try to talk them into red shoes. We give customers what they want because that bad purchase isn't their problem. And the final aspect is timeliness. What was the time frame in which you were going to deliver your service? Does anybody ever say, why that takes so long? Do customers ever say, why that takes so long? When were you planning on telling me? That's what employees say. So let me share with you as leaders of your organization what matters most. The most important aspect of those things that we looked at is service, and I'll tell you why. It is because it is the only thing out of those four people take personally. They take personally. The fact that your processes are encumbered, you never do anything right, you take too much time, you cost too much, that's all about you. And I'm not coming back, by the way. But how you talk to me, that's about me. That's about me. If I want to be treated rudely, I can stay home. I don't need to pay you. I do it home for free. I don't know how many of you have heard of W. Edwards Deming. He's sort of the godfather of the great quality movement that took place over the last 30, 40, 50 years. But I want you to know he said this, that 94%, I want you to think of your own shop, your own business, your own restaurant, whatever it might be. Think of that place right now. Think of the people working there, thinking of the information you get from satisfied or dissatisfied customers. 94% of those messages lie right on your shoulders. What a burden. But the leaders, managers, owners are indeed the hirers, the trainers, the people that indeed are the ones that are going to set the model, be the person. They're going to be the ones that hand out the information. And these are the things that influence performance. Number one, when an employee shows up on the job for you, remember that first day they come to work, here I am, here I am. I want you to know that you, as the manager, influencer, can move them to being at their best by developing and creating a system of reward that they can trust. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. There's no greater reward than to say, I know you, you do this, and I love it. You are part of our team. We appreciate more than you know what you do. That's number one reward. The second is obviously being paid fairly. We also know that employees need to feel empowered. And now there's a buzzword for you in business. That's a buzzword. But empowerment is simply this. I hired right, I trained well, I set the example, I created rewards that matter, and I now can set you free. And if you make a mistake, I'm not going to jump all over you. I am going to be, instead of a watchdog, I'm going to become a resource. And I'm going to hold your hand whenever you need it, but otherwise, go. Go. Tom Peters called this empowerment is to gain control by giving up control, which sounds just loony, but that's what happens. When I hire right, train well, set an example, reward well, and correct when we need to, I can let you go, and I can open another business in a few years because I got you set. We also know that employees are affected by the systems you create. Ask yourself this about every piece of workflow. Does what you ask your employees to go through enhance their service or encumber it? You're the only one that can answer that question. But if it encumbers it, it will affect service from the inside out. And finally, I want you to know that employees are affected by you, by the great leaders in this room. Leadership is that thing that grows from us when we see differently, further than anyone else. Leadership isn't always about authority. I know there are people who are in authority who are not good leaders, and there are people who are not in authority who are fabulous leaders. Anybody remember the Fonz? I don't remember him being on a payroll, like a thug payroll or anything. You know, oh yeah, he's an official thug. No, he just had this power. And you as a leader, when you have bright ideas, when you have enthusiasm, when you have the money to support your big ideas, and you have the spirit to lead, you are unstoppable. And then you are sitting in the front row decades and decades and decades after your business was opened. We are going to have a conversation, and I am so looking forward to hearing what these folks have to say. And so I'm going to ask Frank to come up and introduce our panelists today. And I am going to thank you for your wonderful listening. Thank you.